Here we go. A vast still ocean. Sidi Muhammad ibn al-Habib al-Amghari al-Idrisi al-Miknasi. وعند ذكر الصالحين تنزل الرحمة. The mention of the righteous, mercy descends. This biographer, this person is saying, in 1971, I arrived in Meknes at the Zawiya, which is the Shiyukh used to have a place that was his. He ran it. It was not like it was maybe had segment of it as a public mosque, but it was his. He was in control of it. The Zawiya of Sidi Muhammad ibn Habib. It was the month of Ramadan, a spiritually demanding time on every Muslim's calendar, consisting 30 days of fasting, 30 nights of prayer. It was my first Ramadan, subhanAllah, and that along with the stark poverty of the Zawiya. So different from 60s London and the colorful exoticism of India that I had previously known. It left me spiritually disoriented and suffering from a heavy dose of culture shock. When a few Western friends and I were called to meet the Sheikh, I stood at the bottom of the tall stairs that led up to his room feeling a mixture of apprehension and hope. I had no reference point for this meeting. He's clearly a convert who's writing this. I was about to encounter a man whom thousands of people honored. All right. And someone who had realized to them the true potential of his soul. As we entered his room, the Sheikh sat waiting for us, enveloped in robes and an embroidered woolen cloak. His bowed head wrapped in a dark green turban, a rosary with large black beads hung around his neck, and he had kohol trimmed eyes. In other words, had kohol on his eyes. As we entered, silently witnessing our presence for some time, it felt like we had slipped into a still pool of peace, and under his gaze, my fears suddenly and inexplicably melted into ease. There was very little conversation. The Sheikh emanated a compassion that filled the room. When he did speak to me, it was with great gentleness and an acceptance of all I was without any judgment. I felt that I had made a great leap away from my ancestry and family legacy when I left for India. But now Morocco, this saint insisted I honor my spiritual and cultural heritage as I move forward on this journey, unifying my past and present. Okay. He says, now you have two spiritual leaders, the Prophet Jesus and the Prophet Muhammad. I was so awed by his presence, and I can't remember taking the black and white photograph of this great wali. What I do, so it must be Peter Sanders. What I do remember is that the curtains were drawn, and I didn't use flash or any artificial lighting. Despite that, the image was perfectly illuminated. Was it the radiance of the Sheikh? During the days that I spent in his Zawiya, I would feel his presence before he entered the room. Extraordinary people from around the country arrived to visit him by day and night, and he was like a father to many. He taught by example, by looks, and with dreams, and his vast spiritual knowledge is clearly discernible in his Diwan, a collection of poems containing a complete exposition of the path to God. For if a person truly knew the worth of his heart, he would give all he had without hesitation. And if a person came to know with the bliss within his soul, he would shed a tear of joy with every breath he took. He would fly forth from the body that had turned into his cage on wings of meditation to the lote tree of the boundary, and would range the expanses of God's pedestal and his lesser and greater thrones, where the galaxies appear as but a tiny ring. I traveled to Mecca hoping to perform the pilgrimage with him, but I arrived to find he had died on the way. Subhanallah. I found myself without my compass, cast upon the waves of this new spiritual journey with no one to guide me but the mercy of the All-Merciful. The mother turtle lays her eggs on the shore and returns to the ocean. Just as baby turtles break free from their shells, the first thing they see is the mother throwing back a glance before she disappears into the waves. Some see this as an allegory for the student who sees a great sheikh before he passes into the next world. His seal with which he signed his letter reads, "It is the will of Allah, there is no strength but Allah. Ma sha Allah la quwwata illa billah." His entire character was a reflection of these two great truths. He looked at all of creation with immense compassion. He was at peace inwardly and outwardly. And that's it. That's it. It's a short biography. We're going to read these, inshallah ta'ala, biographies of these awliya and salihin, to hope that rahmah descends upon us, and we make the intention to clear our hearts from all those, anything that is in our hearts towards any Muslim and towards anyone who says words of aggression or mockery. And we make our intention to have animosity only to whom Surah Al-Mumtahina tells us to have animosity, which is the enemies of the truth, of the enemies of the truth that is undisputed, which is the kalima of La ilaha illallah Muhammadur Rasulullah, and those who are harming Muslims and those who are attacking Muslims by day and by night, removing them from their homes for nothing other than who they are as Muslims. And that's whom the Prophet Ibrahim in Surah Al-Mumtahina is commanding us to have animosity to. And may Allah Ta'ala always keep our hearts pure towards the Ummah of Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, and unify us and bring us together as brothers in this life before the next. Let's go.